Probably the question I get most is,
Smitty, who's the next Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow?
one of the main reasons people ask me that question is because on the channel, two of our biggest predictions were Joe Burrow in round 6 and 7 and Jalen Hurts in round 6 and 7. And did those ever smash? So we're here to answer the question, who is the next Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts? The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
What if I was to tell you that the next Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow?
What?
This is pretty simple. There's a reason Joe Burrow won you leagues last year. There's a reason Jalen Hurts won you leagues last year. You got them oftentimes in round 6 and round 7. That's why. Smash. Hurts climbed into 5. Joe Burrow sometimes climbed into 5 to 7, depending on if you're drafting with grandmas or a bunch of fantasy football sharks. Now, Trevor Lawrence can linger into the 5, sometimes round 6 territory. Aaron Rodgers in round 7, round 8. There's a handful of quarterbacks that can make a splash from that later ADP range. Deshaun Watson, some would say. But there is no Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts in round 6 and 7 specifically, or really even round 5, because Trevor Lawrence is going in 4-5. And even though I love him as the potential closest thing, he was the closest thing to Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts heading into 2023, looking at those two guys from 2022. He really was. He still kind of is in some ways one of the closest things to those two guys, even at a little higher draft capital, but not that much. Fields is in round 3, and that's still good value. Apples to apples, Fields in 3 and a wide receiver in round 6 is going to be equivalent, my friends, to a quarterback in round 6 and a wide receiver in round 3. So don't take a quarterback early content creator fool you into thinking taking a quarterback early is bad. I feel like the Robin Hood of early quarterback drafting. I'm the lone defender of early quarterback drafting. That doesn't mean you can't win a league going quarterback late. There are 100 ways to win. I'm going to get into that in a second. Instead of going on a tangent and talking about that, my main goal here was to say Joe Burrow was a 3rd rounder, near 2nd rounder, but like mid 3rd rounder coming out of 2022. Immediately, like in January, we hit the mock drafts, we hit the rankings, we hit conversation, and Joe Burrow's right after the big 3, and he's really in the big 4, and some like him more than some of the guys ranked 1, 2, and 3, like me. Joe Burrow's my potential number 1 overall quarterback in 2023. I'm not drafting him number 1 because I don't need to, a point I'm about to get to and allude to right now, but Mahomes, Hurts, Josh Allen are all round 3 and round 2 guys. I would say 2 of them at least are going in round 2. You got Jalen Hurts going in round 2 on the regular. You got a lot of
you don't take a QB early
guys still promoting not taking those guys in round 2 and even passing on them in round 3. The crazy part early on in 2023, January, coming out of 2022, Joe Burrow was cemented into round 3. Because he was QB4. He was QB3 or QB4, but in general, consensus-wise, he was QB4. And what that meant was he was hugging the other 3 quarterbacks who were living in 2 and maybe the top of 3, so he naturally fell as the 3rd or 4th quarterback in that 3rd round, mid-3rd round. You weren't getting him any later. Joe Burrow was on fire. Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow, get burrowed, by the way. People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
get burrowed.
Joseph Cigar Smoking Burrow has fallen into round 4, sometimes round 5. And the reason is Justin Fields. For some odd reason, Fields' climb through all the offseason trading, DJ Moore, good draft. Ryan Poles turning this thing around. And I love Justin Fields. I'm not ripping on Justin Fields at all. I think the Bears are going to win the division. And you could say, oh, Smitty, that's garbage.
The Bears?
The Bears are the
Bears, Smitty.
I really don't care about the naysayers to ahead of the curve thinking or projections or predictions. I understand that people that love the Lions, people that love the Vikings, people that love the Packers are going to have something to say. Honestly, when your boy said the Bengals would win their division 2 years ago, would go to the Super Bowl, people laughed harder than when I say the Bears are going to win the division. The Bears are winning the division. The Bears are going to the NFC Championship game, in my opinion. And yeah, that's an early prediction, and I may get it wrong, but that's my bold take, and I'm standing by it. I say this to emphasize that I don't hate Fields at round 3. I don't hate Fields at all. I love Fields, and I want to own Fields in a handful of leagues, and I already do in a grip of best ball and a couple dynasty. I love Justin Fields. He's on the rise. He's in tier 1. He is inside Tier 1. The top 4 QBs coming out of January 2023 were Hurts, Mahomes, or Mahomes, Hurts. I'm not going to debate this right here. The point really being that Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, and Burrow being 4 was kind of the consensus, with a tier break right here between the big 4 and Justin Fields. And Trevor Lawrence could be right here. Lamar could be right there. Deshaun Watson for some of you. That's not the point. The point is there was a tier break coming out of 2022. It was Burrow at 4, Fields right below in his own tier, but kind of far down. A tier break that has since been removed. And not only has Fields climbed right up against Burrow, he created a tier break below him. And you could really argue Fields jumping up into any one of these spots. Honestly, he will have cups of coffee with the 1 and 2 and 3 overall quarterback all year long. And if he finished number 3, it wouldn't shock me at all. He is no longer in his own tier below tier 1. He is inside tier number 1. But this is where Burrow took a tumble, because for some reason, a reason we can't explain, it's just human nature. It's just observing the data. The fantasy football community as a whole, fantasy football worlds everywhere, couldn't accept that both of these guys remained in this territory right here where number 4 would typically get taken, which we talked about already. Mahomes is in round 2. Hurts is in round 2. Josh Allen is in round 2. Again, QB4, Joe Burrow was Joe Burrow, lived in round 3, cemented in. And sometimes, Josh Allen would fall into round 3 as well. So Fields being a 5th rounder, maybe he was late 4th to some of you, but 5th rounder before all the trading and the improvements to Chicago, the draft, the feel of this team building, he was here. But once he climbed all the way up into round number 3, for some reason, fantasy football world spat Joe Burrow out into round 4. Instead of letting all 5 of them live in the top 3 rounds. I don't know why. I don't ask questions. I just tell you, Joe Burrow kept falling. For some reason, the rise of Fields was the downfall, ADP-wise, of Joe Burrow walking into 2023. Now, in very knowledgeable circles, you're probably only going to see him float in round 4, from 4.1 down to 4.12, just depending on the scoring. Is it 6 points per TD pass? Then he might climb to the very top of 4. I can see him going at the bottom of 3 in that case, but most leagues are 4 points per TD pass. And all this is 1 QB, obviously. But Joe Burrow in a Shark League might go at 4.2, 4.4, 4.5, or even in a league that's full of experts that just doesn't value quarterbacks. And I'll be honest with you, the community that is most against early quarterback is the expert community. Hence why I'm creating this, because content creators everywhere, these experts are literally churning out like usual. Don't draft a quarterback early. You can get a guy late, which you can. It's why we won leagues last year with Burrow sitting right here in this 5, 6, 7 round territory. Jalen Hurts sitting in this 5, 6, 7 round territory, and we cleaned up. Easily 2 of our best predictions here on the channel, here on the Fantasy Football Show for all of 2022. But that doesn't mean you couldn't win apples to apples comparison drafting your QB like Fields in 3, going Fields in 3 and getting a Drake London at the top of round 6. That needs to be compared apples to apples to a person saying, wait on a quarterback. Let's say Trevor Lawrence fell, and that's a generous gift in round 6. Might not even happen, but let's just pretend worst case scenario against my theory of you can win a league going early quarterback. I get Fields in 3. The naysayer gets Trevor Lawrence in 6. I get Drake London in 6. What wide receiver do they get? DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, a Calvin Ridley, a DeAndre Hopkins. It doesn't matter. I like my Fields and Drake London way more than Ridley or Deebo or whoever you get in round 3 as a wide receiver with Trevor Lawrence. I'm not saying they're not both good. They're both good. But arguing that you can't apples to apples draft a good or better team going early quarterback is garbage. Even if you switch this into round 2, Mahomes and London versus a wide receiver in round 2. Let's even call it Waddle or Devontae Adams with Trevor Lawrence versus my Fields and Drake London. Get out of here. So back to the total point here. Joe Burrow was this guy. Joe Burrow was the person I was arguing when Fields was over here somewhere. Joe Burrow was locked into this third round territory coming out of like January. Joe Burrow in round 3 with Drake London crushed anybody's potential quarterback, whatever, in round 5, 6, and their wide receiver in round 3. And that was when Joe Burrow was a third rounder. Now he's a late 4th rounder, sometimes top of 5. What do you think my answer is now? Joe Burrow has almost returned to last year's value range. He was a round 5.5 to 6, sometimes 6 to 7, depending on the league, player to grab, and he won leagues. And he didn't even have the year he's about to have. He had a very slow start to the beginning. He lost Jamar Chase for a chunk of time. Even when Chase came back, he was a little hampered. Joe Burrow's got an improved offensive line. If you're like me and you see Joe Burrow as equals to Mahomes, Hurts, and Josh Allen, a guy that should live over here in round 2, and not only is he not in round 3 anymore, not only is he not at the top of 4, he's at 4.5 to 5.2, 5.3. And that's almost where he was last year when he lived in this end of 5, 6, 7 territory where Jalen Hurts was also, and he won leagues. Joe Burrow won leagues. This is arguably my number 1 quarterback, and I'm telling you right now, you're getting him in 4, 5, because this man, Fields, who I love and I still want to own him too, he climbed into 3, and for some reason we can't compute or rationalize, and it doesn't matter, it is what it is. We can get this guy now a round or more later. That wins you a league. While I still believe early quarterback, you could win with my apples to apples comparison. This fall from the 3rd round because of Fields moving up, it's an unbelievable scenario that I almost hit every single draft when it stares me in the face at the risk of an injury taking out a bunch of my fantasy football seasons. I don't care because it's such a great opportunity. It almost eliminates the desire to go early quarterback, not because I don't believe in it. I've argued why I like early quarterback. I've argued why I love late quarterback. These two guys were our smashes from 2023. Many leagues were won. But this opportunity is like taking one of these 2nd round guys, plucking them out and saying, oops, I dropped him in round 5. What other strategy is there to take if this is staring you in the face, even if it's late round 4 or mid round 4? What other scenario would you want to put all your eggs in one basket on if it isn't this one? In a sense, I'm kind of telling you that late quarterback, forget about it. Early quarterback, forget about it, because you got early quarterback Joe Burrow in the middle rounds. It doesn't make sense. It wins you a league. If you listen to nothing else I tell you all year long, go get Joe Burrow in round 4 and smash your league. Now get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com. Get your year-round fantasy football rankings, your one-on-one text device, your trade calculators, your redraft rankings, dynasty rankings, super rookie rankings, top 200 rankings, super flex rankings, and the one-on-one text device is the best. And the bull predictions are what, your boy's famous for. Been doing that 20 years professionally. So get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com. And if you want to draft with us, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty. The link is in the description of this video. The link is in the description of almost every video. The link inserts promo code Smitty for you. Promo code Smitty will get you up to $100 bonus match on your first deposit. And we draft every single Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I'm live Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm live whenever news breaks. But we draft. We have a marathon, 3-day marathon every single week until kickoff. Every single week, we mock draft and live draft marathon Thursday, Friday, Saturday at midnight Eastern. Daily uploads on the channel. Tuesday night at midnight's the Panic Chamber. Get out of here.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.